So in terms of e-commerce platforms, there's quite a few choices out there for the listeners in terms of which platforms to use. What's your sort of thoughts on the best platforms?
My thoughts are we only use two.
Yep.
We use Shopify and we use WooCommerce.
WooCommerce, yeah.
You're aware of both those, Richard, I'm sure.
Absolutely.
Obviously, both of them have pros and cons, which for SEO, PPC, and for design. I think Shopify is great. You can't bespoke design a Shopify site. They come as set templates. So what we would do is advise on navigation, the options that they have there, and then completely redesign in terms of the design space, the set space that Shopify theme would allow. And do you know what? Some of them really allow you to be quite individualized with it and personalized, and you can brand it and take it right back to a company's ethos and brand. They're lovely sites. And what do you like working with them? Are they good for you guys, SEO?
Yeah. I mean, I guess a lot of the highest percentage for us is Shopify as well. Yeah, it's Shopify. And then it's Magento more for us as well. I think we've got quite a lot of enterprise, I would say, sort of more enterprise size clients on the paid ads and on the SEO. But I think there's definitely seems to be a shift this last 6 months specifically, where I think a lot of people that we're dealing with are going from Magento to Shopify. So Shopify really seems to be the way in terms of sort of people making that decision to move over to that. And I think their share value reflects that as well this last 2 or 3 months during lockdown.
Yeah, they're going up, aren't they? Looking if you had a chance to
so you recommend WooCommerce as well. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, I like Woo because it keeps us flexible design-wise. Yeah. You can have whatever you want. Yeah. There's customers that have contacted me about their Shopify sites wanting specific functionality which Shopify doesn't allow for. Yeah. Also, you're confined to the rules of Shopify. So a client of mine, Shopify once had 1,000 tags that you were allowed to tag in on a product.
Yeah.
Which helped people find the specific product they needed. Shopify reduced that to 250. Now that's had a major impact on how they run their website.
Yeah.
And nothing they can do about it. Also, the server charges that comes with extra costs, and Shopify can have a monopoly on that. They can tell you how much you're paying for your website each month and change it.
And there's not a lot you can do about it. You're tied in, but yeah.
You're tied in.
Yeah.
So yes, I would say Shopify was great if you're starting up a business selling clothes products which don't have very many variables, brands. I think it's fantastic. If you're selling something which is quite unique, which has got maybe lots of different variables, might have subscription sites on it, it might have members areas, it might have other bespoke aspects like downloads or training areas where you can access, then I would always say that WooCommerce and that facility is
WordPress.
The best.
Yeah.
WordPress.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting point of view. So obviously you worked on, I don't know if you keep a count in the agency, but you've worked on hundreds and hundreds of sites over the last, I guess, scraping 15, 16, 17 years. You don't have to give us the official number, but quite a while.
Quite a long time.
And I think obviously we worked on a lot of projects together, and this sort of key phrase, user experience, I think, it's a huge thing. Obviously it's about delivering a great experience for a user. What would you say from a design perspective? What are the top 3 things that can help and help our listeners to improve their user experience with their websites?
Oh, there's loads of improvements you can make on a site. Site speed, spelling, stupid things, mobile responsive, reducing copy, not having enough copy.
I think there's a couple of things there. So let's go. You've got the SEO side, copy, copywriting, keywords. You could get, we could talk about that for a long, long time. And then you've got, this design aspect. So I think quite often I see my SEO team, having this negotiation with your design team. It's like quite an interesting battle
Yeah, it is.
You know, it's you know, you've got to get that balance. That's quite. What would you say about that?
It's a balance. It's a balance, and it's a negotiation. And I believe that copy always should come out on top to be functional, and to give a reader or a online viewer something that they need, and to say that in a succinct, precise manner, and to get that information across as easy and quickly as possible. But it's also got to look good, Richard.
Yeah.
It can't, you know, the line length can't be too long. The paragraph can't be too much of a scroll. So there's a skill of the copywriter to work with the designer to come up with that happy medium.
Yeah. And then you touched on mobile. Obviously, mobile. You know, the sort of the mobile first index now, as it is with Google. You know, it's has a priority. You know, what are some of the tips you could give to guys that are listening in? You know, because I think quite often, you know, they're sort of, a lot of people obviously work on desktop on their day to day, but the reality is, you know, the numbers are higher usually in terms of traffic on mobile, and it quite often gets missed. What are some of the tips you can give to the guys that are listening on to improve their mobile?
Well, this is, I suppose, when your website is built on great foundations, you can be flexible, because I know on mobile now, you have to keep everything that's on the desktop view has to be in mobile view. So, you know, the stacking of images, making sure that the product is in view. If you are having a shopping website, you can always buy that product somewhere on that page.
Yeah.
You know, call to action, I suppose, is the biggest thing for me. When you downsize to a mobile, the navigation and the call to action gets lost in that stream of scroll.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you need always to have that as a key area. You know, I've been on sites before and on mobile, and I can't find out where to buy the product.
Yeah, that's it's crazy, but the amount of times I've seen that, you know, you see these huge sites, you know, in terms of turnover, then you just jump on your phone and think, right, I'll just have a look. Oh, I can't actually check out.
Yeah.
And then you message the owner or the marketing guy team, or I don't know if you know, but I'm on an XYZ phone. I've just gone to checkout. Oh, let me look at that. And then the next thing you know, it's like, right, email goes off to their team.
Yeah.
You know, yeah, it's unbelievable. Yeah, simple things like literally checking it on the different devices and using the tools out there to do that. Quite often you can obviously improving conversion rates on mobile, looking at the separate conversion rates depending on device, you know, can make a huge difference. Unbelievable, really, isn't it, that in this day and age that, you know, sites don't work on mobile still, and we still see it as well. Yeah.
No, and it's not checked, and customers don't check on the mobile. What I find a lot of my customers do is it's working on desktop, it's fine, and then when we have a review, they say, oh, mobile views are really high, but we haven't really converted on mobile. Why haven't we? And it's only then when they check, you know, so they've missed out on an awful lot of potential sales.
Yeah.
That's fair.
So obviously looking at the mobile side of things, very important. But obviously, like we said, you've looked at a lot of sites over the years and worked on a lot of projects. What would you say are the top things or the top mistakes you've seen that people should avoid? I guess a similar question really, but what's the sort of top mistakes you've seen over the years on e-commerce stores that people should avoid?
E-com stores, intrusive pop-ups.
Yeah.
Do you know what? Just for a B2B, and it works on e-com store as well, awful team pictures.
Awful team pictures.
Yeah. You know, when it's either a selfie or, you know, just it's a bugbear of mine.
Yeah, anyway, I think a lot of people miss the trick, don't they, with their sort of about us and their team pages. They're so important, those pages. You know, they're sort of, you know, telling that we're talking about brand, we're talking about brand story, we're talking about, you know, getting the personality of the brand across. And what better way to do it than on your about us, your team pages, where some of them can be done so badly, as you're saying.
Yeah, Richard, I tell you, when we review sites, the about page is one of the most popular sites on all B2B sites. And you know, I've worked with a lot of, you know, solicitors and accountants. Sorry if they're listening, are out there. The worst ones for it when they get someone in the office who's got a half decent phone to take a picture of them, and then there's a window behind them, so they look like they're on Crime Watch. It's just awful. So yeah, that's something to be aware of.
Yeah.
In terms of e-commerce, the worst thing I've seen in e-commerce is probably trying to integrate an internal management system which has a bit of e-commerce functionality in it into an existing site, and trying to fudge two technologies together, which will only work in something like an iframe.
Yeah.
And for those people of you who don't know, an iframe is basically a window which you put another website in. So your website holds another website within it. And it's very hard to style. It's very hard to make mobile functional. And it's just a pain in the arse for a user to actually get anything out of it. And it costs so much more in the long run. So shortcuts.
I think you used the right terminology at the beginning there. Fudging two things together. Quite often that's, as unfortunately a typical business owner, isn't it? Quite often it can be where, right, we've got this, we've got that. Oh yeah, we'll just put that together. Well, hang on a minute. You've got different technologies, different code, different language. No doubt they can be built together, but something probably has to be rebuilt. It depends obviously on the details there. So I think for the guys that are listening in, I think design, it's for me, it's one hell of a skill, and I see what you guys produce, some unbelievable stuff. And, I think it's quite, it's one thing trying to explain what you want, but then to then see that on paper, it is a whole other thing. So the guys that are listening in, what are some tools that they can use to help them with if they wanted to do some design themselves, maybe? There's a lot of different tools. I think Adobe has always been like the daddy. That might be wrong. In the industry. And that's got this sort of connotation. If you're not a designer, it's quite a scary. It's like quite a scary interface. I think. Well, I know it from me, my point of view, it is. But then there's other tools now. Where they can help you with social media and things like that. What are your what would be your advice to sort of people listening in that they want to do a bit themselves on the design side?
Okay. If they can afford Adobe, it is amazing and it's limitless, but it is quite expensive. A client of mine uses Canva.
Yeah.
Do you know Canva?
Yes. Yeah.
It's a free software up to a point, and it comes with many, many different templates, and it's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
I've seen some pretty great designs produced on Canva. Yeah. And then there's other things which can help with social media, very much so. So there's Theme Forest, which offers lots of different templates and things for your stories, for social media templates themselves, where you just literally add a picture and it does all the filters and everything for you. And there's loads of them at the moment. Absolutely loads.
The teams here on social and on the sort of creative side, but obviously you guys help us with a lot of initial ideas and ideation. But then when we've got those templates, we use Canva. I don't know if you knew that. Yeah. So we use Canva, and then Canva, as you say, you can have a paid version where you then share template sets with different team members. So yeah, I'd definitely back that up myself as well. So yeah, Adobe, I have to admit, I think my patience for this sort of thing is I've got quite a low threshold, to be fair. I think it's not for the faint-hearted, and all the designers listening to this will be like, what's he talking about? But something like Canva's more up my street personally. I stick to what I'm good at, and it's definitely not design. But obviously for those that want to go a bit more all in, and then Adobe is the recommendation. But for those that want to sort of maybe get some nice front end look, feel, designed by Jim or his team and agencies, they can then use something like Canva to take those pre-designed template style graphics, and then obviously each time you're doing things, you can use those to create different social media things. So
yeah, it's a good little platform, definitely.
Yeah. So obviously I think we didn't really put an official number on it, but you've been doing this quite a while. How would you say sort of design's changed over the years, in this last sort of 15 years?
Oh, it's huge. I was talking to the guys about this morning, and this is probably things that we've talked about for an hour in the office. Massive change. I think it's more competitive probably now for me than ever, in terms of lots of people having the software and utilising templates.
Yeah.
But the biggest thing, I suppose, is that the print has just completely gone out of my business. It used to probably the first 5 years be 75% of my turnover.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's really strange about people seeing the value in digital. I don't think, for example, a company brochure would be renewed every year. It would be the flagship brochure, which would be given to lots of sales guys to promote the company.
Yeah.
And there might be 20,000 of these produced with great finishes, spot varnish, which would have cost £32,000, say, to print. Yeah. And it might cost £10,000 to design.
Yeah.
And this is the company brochure. Every year they would spend this on their brochure.
You've got a 50 grand sort of investment in print and design.
Yeah. And now I'm called in for a website.
Yeah.
Is basically a brochure online. Yeah. With video, with copy, with image, with everything that they want. And they'll balk at, 10,000. Yeah. 15,000.
Yeah.
Which is something that they've got there all the time.
Yeah.
And is instant, changeable, and is a marketing tool in itself. Yeah. So that is a weird thing for me to get my head around. Still.
I think that's the same in a lot of agency life. There's you can go, as we know, we can go and get somebody to do your SEO for probably £100 a month, or you can get somebody to do your SEO for £5,000 a month. Obviously, you're going to get a different job completely. You can go and buy a Shopify template for whatever it may be, $20 off Theme Forest, and it'll look okay. Or you can have a bespoke piece, specialist, 20 years experience, 10 years experience, whatever it may be. So how do you any pointers that you would say how to, I can't get my words out, how to
how to get people to invest?
Yeah, how to get these big jobs. I think I know we're going off a tangent a little bit. That's quite an interesting topic, isn't it? I know I have my thoughts on it from my agency's perspective. We are similar to you, been doing this over 10 years, and we have a minimum investment in our agency, and that that sort of really does sort of sets a good tone for when we do have a conversation about a project. The expectations have already been maybe addressed in terms of budget.
I think that's what you do really well, Richard. Whenever somebody makes a call into you, you say, yeah, that's great. Just to make you aware, our fees start at this, this, and this.
Yeah.
And instantly, that if these guys are serious and whether they've got a pride in their company, what they do, whether they're willing to invest that time and effort to work with you.
Yeah.
And I think that's a great way of doing it as a business owner in the digital.
And you get to choose then, don't you, who you work with as well. You're working on projects where you can put the time in, you can put your expertise in, you can put your wider team on a project knowing that, that client respects the fact that, you're going to do it. It's like our job, for example, one of our things might be, keyword research, where you can do keyword research in an hour, or you can spend 3 days on it. Now, obviously, if you're a brand doing millions of pounds a month, you want the latter. You want a thorough job. So, that's, and it'd be the same for you guys, won't it? That's sort of, you can really put your heart and soul into a piece. It's like these drawings that I see on Facebook, these memes, where it's like, they do it's like what is it? Like a picture of the Mona Lisa sort of thing. And then there's like a crappy version of it next door, next to it. It's like, this was, $100 job. This was a 10 grand job sort of thing. Which one do you want? Yeah.
No, exactly. But it also adds value to you as a agency as well. You setting your stall out like that.
Yeah.
That's good. I think I want clients to aspire to work with us.
Yeah. We're definitely on the same page. I think, well, we know, obviously we talk a lot outside the podcast, and I think in terms of our client bases, they're very similar, aren't they, in terms of the type of people we work with. So, okay. So, again, hundreds of websites you've worked on. Tell us about a website design that you love and what you love about it.
One of ours.
Yeah, one of yours, or a site out there that you think that these guys know what they're doing when it comes to design, look, feel, brand. So it's probably going to be one of yours, I guess.
No. Well, one of my favourite e-com sites is, and it's a real small, simple one. It's, them, Chains and Sprockets.
Okay.
On Shopify.
Yeah. So
completely turn their website around, and doubled their sales and doubled their sales per visit as well, their value per sale per visit.
And that's not from any marketing change specifically, like paid ads, SEO change. It's from a redesign. Were they already on Shopify?
Already on Shopify,
Yeah.
and
So
it's literally the power of design, and that is it's a great illustration how they were ticking along quite nicely. And I see this an awful lot. People, until you start losing sales, you won't look at your website design.
Yeah.
However, I've seen designs that are still ticking over quite nicely after 10 years, but they look awful. And I know if they invested in design, they would increase their average sale per visit.
And they've got a reason. I know they've got quite an array of products on there, but they do have some quite high value products, don't they? And I think even more so when you're buying something that's not so much a widget. And I know they sell widgets as well. It's not just but they have some high value product.
Yeah, so it's a lovely looking site. There's a bespoke search functionality that we've created so you can get to any product in one click.
Yeah.
And it's just a lovely site that works.
Yeah.
And it isn't expensive, and they're reaping benefits.
The sprockets and chains
chains and sprockets.
Chains and sprockets.co.uk.
Yeah.
Yep. Okay. So go and have a look at that one, guys, to give you an insight into a really strong redesign, before and after, or you'll see the after and you'll see what's possible with Shopify.
And mate, I've got to say, the best site though for e-com, which I've seen out there, is the Nike site, the Nike site. Yeah. It's got everything you need. It's got great calls to action. Yeah. It's got unbelievable photography. It's got unbelievable product photography. And the navigation, superb.
I have to admit, last Sunday I was sat in my front room, whatever was going on the telly, I was like, right. And somebody I know had posted some of their new trainers that they'd bought during lockdown. I thought, I'm having a pair of them. This Pegasus 37, where you customize about 20 elements of your trainer.
Oh, Jesus.
And I'm a big fan of purple, as you know. I've got a little prints there. Look. And so I went on, and the user experience, and it's quite a complicated thing. You've got, I think, 20-ish, 15 to 20, I think probably about 15, 20 customizations on my mobile phone. And it was so effortless, so smooth, so visually amazing, stunning. It was like, I got to the end and it was, 100 and whatever, 30 quid, I think it was for the trainers. But I was like, oh my God, this, absolutely, we've not spoken about this, but God, it is an amazing customer experience, user experience. Yeah. When you sign up with the app, it's asking you, the questions, so then they'll deliver, the best user experience when you do sign up on the app. So, right, are you interested in football, sport, weightlifting, running, male, female, usual stuff. But then, the different, the different sports and whatnot that you're interested in. So then, obviously, they're going to then show you clothing and items that match that. Yeah, but yeah, real one. So obviously,
there's some great deals on there, Richard, because you're like 6'7", and you've probably got 16 size feet.
Yeah.
So I bet there's some amazing trainers.
Size 12.
Yeah, right.
So I think obviously Nike, guys listening in on the podcast, not everyone's got Nike budgets. Yeah, that's the reality, obviously. So what advice would you give to somebody listening in, they've maybe got some budget, and that'll vary, it's maybe a smaller budget. So they're on a budget. What advice would you give them in terms of investing in design? What would be a good start? Yeah, in design specifically, yeah.
So I'm imagining somebody has got a business idea, they've got a product, and they want to go to market with a brand name and an identity. I would say have obviously a clear message and a clear brand personality, and really focus in on your target audience. Make sure your price is right. Obviously your product, your 4 Ps, all of these aspects, and go for it. Just trust in yourself, trust in your abilities. If you're selling online, I'd probably start off with something like Shopify. Yeah. If you have got a limited budget, you can set that up pretty much on your own. And, if you were to contact an agency like myself, I would just advise and guide you through that first step until you are ready to maybe progress on to something more. and maybe monthly check-ins just to make sure you're on track, like we said, with making sure social media is on point, your messaging, your tone of voice.
So they may be engaging with the designer to start with, but what sort of some of the things they would consider when engaging a designer, what sort of things should they be looking at to pick a designer?
To pick a designer?
Yeah.
I think it's kind of an interview process, isn't it? You might see 2 or 3 different designers. I think they've got to ask the right questions. They've got to know a bit about you and your business, first and foremost. They should have done a bit of research on you. They need to know that they're invested, that they're going to work entirely, they set out their team and they showcase what they do. And I think when a designer comes and they really want to work with you, I think that they need to show you that they're passionate about working with you. I don't know if it needs to be any questions, really. I think when we pitch our agency, if we really want to work with a client, we'll have already done research on what they've had done before, what their brand is, what their personality is, how we could then speak to their target audience. And we would have as many questions for them regarding their business as they would have for us.
A thorough Q&A sort of session, but then really I would say, what you're saying is have a look at their work. I think, you align with similar companies, can't you? That you think, do you know what? I really like what these guys have done for this, and this. Looking at their portfolios as well as what you're saying.
Oh yeah, I mean, I'd expect someone to have looked at my portfolio if they were going to give me a call anyway. But I mean, having looking at somebody's work and reading testimonials and just researching about those design agencies before you call them it's essential. First port of call, definitely.
Brilliant. So we've covered a lot of ground there, Jim. Lots of things for e-com stores to be thinking about. But I think, it's been a great episode. I think there's a lot of takeaways there. And I think, those guys listening in that have got their stores, and maybe at that stage where they're looking at redesigning or going with that first design, it's something that, from my perspective, I'm a big advocate, believer in investing in that, whether it's e-com or not. We have 2 agencies here. We're always investing in our brand, our look, our feel, our brand. And our brand for us, starts the minute somebody walks in this door, so, you've got that brand piece, what you look like out there, in terms of whether that's, predominantly web, more so in our industry. But obviously, if they're then coming to visit you, that brand needs to filter through from the minute they walk in the door, the signage, the flooring, it can filter all the way through. So there's a lot of things to think about there. But I think obviously you've given us a lot to think about on the e-commerce side. So I always like to finish every episode with a book recommendation, a recommendation of a book that you would recommend to our listeners.
Oh no, I haven't got one. But I have listened to a great podcast recently and I've signed up. I've actually parted with money for this one, Richard, would you believe?
Okay.
$2.99 a month. It's killing me right now. But it's the Russell Brand Luminary podcast. And I think it's just incredible. It does touch on mainly politics and religion and the law of attraction and positive thinking and self-development, business, design, everything.
It's a real mix, yeah.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's quite similar to what you're doing, Richard. He has some amazing guests on, and they talk about a wide variety of subjects. So that would be my recommendation.
But he charges $2.99 a month for the pleasure. Yeah,
he does. Unfortunately, yes.
I'll have to have a think about that one. And that's called. So that's Luminary. What was it called?
Luminary.
Okay.
Luminary. And you can find that on Spotify.
Yeah, brilliant. Well, thank you for that. So thank you so much for being a guest on the e-com at One podcast. So the guys that are listening, if they want to find out more about you and connect with you outside of the podcast, what is the best way to do that?
You can find me on LinkedIn, which actually my name's not Jim O'Leary on there. It's just something my friends and work colleagues have picked up on a Jim. So it's James O'Leary on LinkedIn. Or you can email me at jim@unitedagency.co.uk and visit my website, unitedagency.co.uk.
So unitedagency.co.uk, or connect with you directly on LinkedIn. And obviously, any questions, any follow-up questions, we will link all that up in the show notes. So feel free, if you're listening to this on Spotify, iTunes, etc., go back to ecom@one.com/podcast, find the episode with Jim on, and it'll all be linked up in the show notes. Well, thanks once again. Thank you for being on Ecom One.
Thanks, Richard. I'll see you soon, no doubt.
Thank you.